Hey, how's it going, everyone? My name is Dark Ribbon. I hope you guys are having a wonderful day today. I sure am. We're looking at Super Quants, mainly because Duelist Advanced is slowly approaching. I did cover Lunalights just last week, or actually earlier this week, I think, and we went over that. However, there's going to be multiple different sets coming out, or different archetypes coming out for this, and major support, and I thought, why not do something based off of Power Rangers or Super Sentai, for that matter? If you're not very familiar with Super Quants, we are consistently using a field spell to get out our Exceed monsters. However, back in the day, there wasn't a really good way to cheat out your Megazord. Now, it's only a one card combo, which makes this way better. The only thing we need to start out with is Blue Lair. What this card does, if it's normal or special summoned, we can add a Super Quant card from the deck to our hand. So any Super Quant card, including the new support. So let's go ahead and start here. What we're going to do is we just normal summon the blue, and there's multiple ways of getting blue out just with the amount of searching we can do here. And we don't have to use up that many resources to get out our big Great King Magnus. So let's go ahead and use its effect to search. We're going to be searching for our new card, which is Fairy Zatan. We'll add that to hand. And while Zatan is in our hand, and we control a Super Quant card, we can special summon it to our field. It has a modulating effect once it's summoned, but we don't need to really use that effect. It's more for, I would say, if you can go into more things, which, to be fair, with this deck, yes, you can totally go into more stuff now. It makes it way more accessible to get into your Megazord and a little bit more of your Exceed plays as well. So you just don't have to leave off with that. Is it the greatest? We'll see how it goes. So let's go ahead and activate this effect. So what we're doing here is at this point, we can send one Super Quant card from our deck, and then we can special summon a Super Quant monster from our deck. So what we normally want to send is the spell card Alphen Spike, and then what we're going to summon is, normally we'll be summoning the Alphen, so that way we can get into the graveyard. So at this point, we're going to activate Alphen, tribute itself, and we can select 3 Super Quant monsters. One of them is going to be randomly summoned to our field, and the others are sent to the graveyard, which is okay because each effect is going to activate in response to each other, either on field or in the graveyard. And typically for Alphen effect, we're going to be targeting red lair, white lair, and the new black lair. So we're going to be special summoning one, which it looks like we got white lair, so we're going to be special summoning the white lair. We can go ahead and activate the effect. We can activate the effect of white lair, chain to the effect of white lair, activate red lair, and then after that we can target the black lair, and finally we can chain to black lair. And when black lair is sent to the graveyard, we can add a Super Quantum Speller Trap, which we're going to be adding our new lair 19 to our hand. And then all of this is going to happen. So we're special summoning our black lair to our field. And then we can send a Super Quant from our deck to the graveyard to apply its effect. We just send off a white lair, so that way we can keep the 7 and just go into a rank 7. We can use its effect as well to add another Alphen. And whenever you're adding Alphen, make sure you don't grab that one from grave. Just add the one from deck, because we're going to need that one in graveyard just right now, in fact. So we sent Alphen Spike to the graveyard because once it's banished, you can also banish your Alphen to place the copy of the field spell directly from your deck. So now that we have access to our field spell, we're pretty much set on everything here. And we can also use our lair 19 that we searched. And if we do, we can activate its effect. We can use it to summon. We can summon the red lair, I think, because we haven't used its effect just yet. And when red lair hits the field, we can add a Super Quant monster from our graveyard to our hand, so we can go ahead and do that right now. Go ahead and add the white lair back just in case. And then we can go ahead and we have 2 level 7s on here, so what we'll do is we can we can go ahead and make our first Exceed monster, which is Luxray. and we don't need to use its effect, of course. It just has 2 materials attached to it. Now we have 2 more monster sets, so we're going to go ahead and start cheating out our Xseed monsters, which is going to be our Gamma Pulse. And then also we're going to be cheating out our Magna Liger. And remember, this is just one card, just based off of the blue layer, and we were able to get all of this set up. And then even with all of this, we can end off a board on the Great King Magnus with 7 material attached to it. So, and what Great King Magnus does, it has multiple effects that apply depending on how many materials are attached to it. So if it has 2 materials during the main phase, as a quick effect, you can detach a material and shuffle 1 card on the field into the deck. Non-targeting, by the way, non-targeting removal, which is great. If it has 4 materials, it's unaffected by all card effects except Super Quant cards. And then if it has 6 materials, which is the best one, your opponent cannot add cards from the deck to their hand. So it's a lingering droll effect all the time. So just using that 1 card, we can make a 7 material Great King Magnus to our field. And of course, if we had a full hand, we can go into probably another Xseed monster, or we can also play a constant resurgence of hand traps to go along with it. Other than that, let's go on to the deck profile. Alright, so here we are with the deck profile. As you can see, it's a pretty standard setup here. We definitely need our searches, and we definitely don't want to go on the going second hand, mainly because we're wanting our opponent to not add cards from their deck to their hand. So we want to make sure we can stall them as much as possible with Great King Magnus. Not only do we want that, we would hope that our hand is good enough to where we can even get into one of our other Xseed monsters with a quick effect. Sometimes that can be a little bit hard, but thankfully we have a new card, which is Black Lair. So let's kind of go over the card by card here. So we play 3 copies of Blue Lair, which searches. Black Lair it does have a special summon effect, but only activates when your opponent activates a monster effect. And then whenever this card is summoned, you can special summon an Xseed monster or a Mecha Beast monster from your extra deck using this card as a material, and attaching 1 Super Quant monster from your graveyard to it. This is a mandatory, so you have to make sure you always have a Super Quant in your graveyard in order to activate and resolve this effect. Because if you don't, then you can't Xseed summon. 2 copies of White Lair. This used to be a starter. However, with the amount of cards that you don't really need to send anymore and activate their effects, it's not too needed. And we also have a good level 7 monster, so making level 7s isn't really too difficult. So we just kind of run the 2, and it's very searchable now. 2 copies of Red Lair. I remember when you used to have to play 3 of this, but it's just not very good. I think it would be so much better if the graveyard effect of Red Lair did not negate. That would be so much better. Or just, it doesn't negate, it just says you cannot activate its effect, which I wish it was a little different, but oh well. And then we're also playing 1 copy of Green. Green can get you out of pretty bad situations, mainly with the Alphen Spike. If you draw into Alphen Spike, you can go into Green to get it out of your hand, if you just search it off of anything. And it helps pretty much all the time. Obviously 3 copy of Alphen because it's one of our starters, 3 copies of Zatan because it's also a starter. We're playing 3 copies of Ash Blossom, 3 copies of Fubulos because our draws are absolutely necessary. 1 copy of Droll and Lockbird that also matches with the Crossout Designator. Is Crossout still good? I totally agree. Even if it's at 1, it's better than nothing. 3 copies of Lair 19, which is another one of our searchers / special summoning effects because we get to special summon and possibly get a search off of it. Obviously 3 copies of E-Telly. E-Telly is the one that gets us Blue Lair. So does Lair 19 if we control a Super Quan monster. 2 copies of Magna Ship Carrier, which is our Xseed playmaker. That's pretty much all it's for, and it's with the Alphen Spike and with all of the other searchers we have. I think 2 is probably fine. and you don't really want to go overboard, and I don't think you want to see multiple copies of it in your hand. We're playing 1 for 1, so that way we can see either our Alphen or our Zatan. Foolish Burial for all of them. 1 Call by the Grave, and then 3 copies of Imperm, obviously. And then for our extra deck, we're doing the Typhon and the Zeus. 2 copies of Great King Magnus, because you can make this anytime. 2 copies of Luxray, because it's our only monster negate. 2 copies of Magnaliger, because it's our only monster pop. 1 copy of Ouroboros, because it's a different attribute. And a copy of Gamma Pulse, because it's our back row pop. I'm also playing the Dark Armed Dragon for our level 7s, just in case we need to go into anything else or we get bricked or something. We're playing Forced Megaclops as well, because we play a whole bunch of Xseed monsters, and it's a really hard card to out. And then, as like a little side tech, I guess, I'm playing the Blaster in here, so that way we can get extra draws. It does come up, not often, but it does come up. It does come up in the games if you're just trying to get out, or just trying to get into more of your hand traps, or if you're trying to see Black Lair come into your hand a little bit more often, so that way you can go into one of your other Mecha Beast. Then also 1 copy of Little Knight and 1 copy of IP. Like most of the time, you're always going into one or the other, so that way you can kind of keep going and making more plays. Other than that, that's the deck list for right now. If you guys have any suggestions or you want to see something next, let me know in the comments. But other than that, I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.